There are plenty of better places if you're looking for comics that actually won't always charge you full price and are more reasonable. Why is charging the cover price of a comic book such an unpardonable sin in this guy's book? Like, he brings it up a few times, but that specifically states it there at the end, that it's not that the books are overpriced. It's not that we're gouging people or charging too much. It's that we have the gall, the unmitigated gall, to charge full price.
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting. Comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep bringing comics. Keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers. And now, here are Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
Dal, before we really even get into this week's episode of Contest of Challengers, I just want to make sure that you're going to be able to function at normal capacity, even though the news came out today that Transformers 6 has been taken off the schedule.
To clarify, it's Transformers 7, because Bumblebee is technically the 6th film in the franchise, even though it doesn't have a number in it. But yes, everyone expected that. Back at Toy Fair, Hasbro had basically said, it's not happening. It was always on the schedule for like summer 2019. And after the relative failure of last night, they decided that...
What happened last night?
The Bumblebee film would be a soft reboot instead of like an off-story, flashback-y thing. I'm more than fine with them taking Transformers 7 off the schedule. I wish that they were able to take Transformers 1 through 5 off the schedule as well, but I feel like the passage of time makes that unlikely.
But they're replacing it on the schedule with a Tiffany Haddish movie,
Sure.
and to the best of my knowledge, she is neither an Autobot nor a Decepticon.
Well, again, Transformers 6 Bumblebee hasn't come out yet. That'll come out this December, so she could very well be an Autobot, a Decepticon, a Maximal, a Predacon, a Minicon. Maybe she's dual faction, like Punch Counterpunch.
So we don't think she's Mach Kick at all.
No, Mach Kick is a horse. Tiffany Haddish isn't a horse. At best, she's a pretender, which is a human being shell of a robot inside.
I see. I'm just going to try to get Mach Kick into every episode moving forward until I forget.
Okay. I don't think that's likely to happen.
Which could be as soon as next week's episode.
I've had you remember it at times we're not even recording the podcast. You'll bring it up.
Well, sure, because it's such a dumb name.
It's a super dumb name.
Now, this is going to be a weird episode because
a weird episode.
You were aware of the amount of prep work I had done and all the notes that I had taken.
You did. You compiled a very thorough list of not even topics, just text, I guess. Just text.
Yeah, I had a couple of things from the internet I wanted to read and a list of new books I wanted to talk about and things like that. Okay. And that list is safe in my briefcase, in the back room of Challengers.
Still?
Where I left it.
Got it. All right.
I had plans after work, so I left everything in the store.
You did?
And I took the train out to my plans.
Uh-huh.
And when I got home from the train, which, by the way...
Train doesn't go to your house, by the way.
It doesn't. Having to, like, it's basically like an 11, 12-minute train ride. Mm-hmm. So why do I have to wait 25 minutes for a train?
Depends what time of night you're waiting.
Night? Who's anything about night?
I guess early morning.
Anyway.
The Blue Line will specify at every train stop how often a train is likely to come depending on the time of day. And there's rush hour times where it's like 5 to 8 minutes. And then there's late night, early morning where they're like, hey, there's going to be a couple of these an hour.
I had to wait about 14 minutes to get the train at 7.
Yep.
And then 24 minutes-ish to get it on the way back.
Sure.
So anyway. It was such a beautiful night. Mm-hmm. When I got off the train, I just said, I'm going to walk home.
Okay.
It had nothing to do with my perhaps questionable ability to operate a motor vehicle. It was purely just wanting to enjoy. I mean, it was a gorgeous night.
Your completely unimpaired decision-making ability, you use that to its utmost to determine that the best course of action is to walk home. To enjoy the rare nights in Chicago where that's feasible.
Right. This is the first one we've had this year.
It's true. It was kind of warm out today, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, a little bit too warm.
I was... Mid-80s is not spring weather for me.
I know what the weather was like because I had to
Go get your car.
go get my car. But I chose not to go into the store.
I see.
I just went to the garage.
I see.
Then I had some errands to run in conjunction with tomorrow's Spectacle release party.
Oh, so those are done then.
Which will, yeah.
Yay.
I mean, there's something else I got to do tomorrow, but I got to do tomorrow. You're fine.
Okay.
But obviously, the Spectacle will already have happened when people hear this.
Yep.
But one of the things that I wanted to talk about right away was a Yelp review we got last week.
Yep.
And when we get a Yelp review, good or bad, I usually like to click on the person's account to see what other comic shops they've reviewed and to see what they think of those.
Yeah, like if we get a 5-star review from someone, what do they think of other stores? Do they like them, dislike them? And if we get a negative review, what does this person think is a good store?
What do they like? That kind of thing.
What are they looking for in a comic shop that we clearly are not?
So sometimes I admit I'll be disappointed if we get a 5-star review and then every single store gets a 5-star review.
Sometimes I think you're just disappointed if we get a 5-star review. I think you're much happier when they come in at 1s and 2s.
That's not true. That is not true. It's not true.
Gears start turning.
But this review, we got a review, and I read it and thought, oh, I might have to respond to this.
Yeah,
so
same here.
So I start typing up a reply, and in my head, I just hear Dal saying, "Don't do it. Don't. It's not worth it."
Oh, disagree.
And then I get an email from Dal saying, "Hey, I never do this. I really want to reply to this.
Really wanted to respond to this.
Yelp review. Here's what I wrote." And usually, in these instances, it's me, like, cathartically venting in my response. Then I'll show it to you, and you'll say, "Don't do that. Don't publish that." This was the first time I can recall me reading one of yours and saying, "Oh, don't, no."
Oh man, it was so passive aggressive.
It was so passive aggressive.
So passive aggressive. I channeled my inner Patrick and was like,
I know, I was proud of you.
What's the way of disputing all of this, but not specifically calling this person out? It's more like it's the... I don't know, we'll get to it. We'll read our replies, I'm sure.
I don't have those handy.
I have mine.
Okay, I printed everything out, and I sent you mine as well.
You did. I can read yours.
All right, so here's the review. It's a little bit lengthy, so please bear with us.
Which is, to be fair, was one of the main reasons why I wanted to respond to it, was because we've gotten negative reviews where it's like, there's either nothing to it, or it's something where there's no meat to it. There's so much in it where it's like, all right, there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about from this in publicly rebutting it.
So I'm going to do it all through, and then we can break it down.
Okay.
May 19th, 2018. 2 stars.
That's the date, by the way. It's not how the review starts. It's not like the guy's like, picture this. May 19th.
Again, let me reiterate. I'm just going to go all the way through it, and then we'll talk about it.
Sorry.
2 stars. I expected much more from this place when I heard and saw all the promotions about it, so I went in expecting one of the better comic book shops. It's got its good things, but honestly, I don't think I am going to return to this place. I went in on Free Comic Book Day as it's a good day to get deals at comic book stores. Some stores have big promotional sales. Getting parking was not easy, but maybe a block away on the streets. From the outside, they had plenty of life-size characters to promote, as well as cosplayers outside greeting guests. I thought it was going to be great at this point. Inside, they had a large selection of free comics. The store itself has a nice flow to it, as there is the first room you enter in on, and then the larger room. They had no sales going on for the event. I'm not sure why you wouldn't take advantage of larger crowds with a good sale, but most people I saw there were there for only the free comics and not buying much. They seemed like a very professional place. The staff is friendly, but for a comic book shop, it reminds me of the difference between walking to Michael's and Black's. Sorry for the art reference. It is kind of missing that personality. Now, they do have artists there on occasions, and there were 2 or 3 there, none I could name, or independent comics, which is cool. But that was the only thing really going on beyond the free comics. The only other thing I could say good is their wall behind the counter is cool. It's got a bunch of drawings from artists, but again, because it's behind the counter, it's hard to really enjoy it and see it. There are plenty of better places if you're looking for comics that actually won't always charge you full price and are more reasonable. This is a definite skip in my book. Do you just want to go to your reply, or do we want to break it down little by little?
I'll do my reply then.
Okay.
I think I can find it.
I mean, I think people listening can already sense the direction we're going to take.
Yeah, okay. So this was what I was going to post. So hear this in my voice.
Do you want me to read it in your voice?
No. I don't want to know what that would sound like. We're sorry to hear that you didn't enjoy your experience during our Free Comic Book Day celebration. We thought that providing thousands of free comics, 5 cosplayers, 3 life-size superhero photo ops, 4 artists, including Eisner Award winner Steve Lieber, a huge selection of 50% off Archie graphic novels, and free Venom and Cloak and Dagger mini posters would be enough for any fan, but I guess we managed to come up short for you. Still, we managed to have our best single sales day ever, so thanks for coming by to help make that possible. That was my response.
And then is mine in there as well.
Yeah, do you want to read it? It's weird because yours basically stops.
Yeah, that's because that's the point where I said, this is stupid, why am I doing this?
Yeah, yours is very long. I'll let you read it.
All right, then hand that over. Thanks so much for coming by Challengers on Free Comic Book Day. We're glad you made the trip, but judging the store on a day that over 1,000 people come in may not be for the best. As you saw, we had to completely rearrange the store to fit in the thousands and thousands of free comics we had available, as well as the 4 creators we had signing and sketching for free all day long, including Eisner Award-winning winner Steve Lieber, which was the same thing you had said. We're also sorry you didn't find the deals you were looking for, but we had an entire wall of Archie comic collections, Afterlife with Archie, Riverdale, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, etc., on sale for 50% off. In fact, we had 33 cases of brand new Archie books we got in just for Free Comic Book Day. We also spent thousands of dollars on the free comics and getting the creators here, as well as paying for the 8 cosplayers and all the additional staff members we need on that day. Forgive us if we feel the money we spend on the community that day means we decide to not devalue the products we sell. We also had our biggest sales day ever on this year's Free Comic Book Day, so clearly most people don't mind paying what the comics are actually priced at. And did you notice that all of our back issues are 99 cents every day? All 64 boxes of back issues are literally 99 cents a piece. As for parking, finding a spot a block away when hundreds of other people are also driving to be here that day is actually pretty great, so great job on that. Hopefully you'll take the time to visit when it isn't the busiest day of the year, and maybe you'll see what... That's where it stops.
And that's when you're just like, this is a waste of time.
Yeah. Going through bits of his thing. I mean, clearly he wanted deals. He wanted sales.
Sure, he's very clear about that. His main thing, like, everything's fine. The store's fine, except he can't believe there's no deals. It's Free Comic Book Day. How could you not be doing any deals? So it's weird that this should happen because I was yesterday. Walking home from work, I was listening to a podcast, and briefly they talked about the host's experience with Free Comic Book Day, and he mentioned that he's not a traditional, like, goes to the comic shop reader. He does his stuff digitally, and because of his website, he's able to get review copies for the comics that he does follow, but he went out...
can I ask, was it a comic podcast? Or was
Transformers podcast.
Okay, but that's just weird that it was so comic-y.
They were specifically reviewing Unicron Zero.
Sure.
And he was kind of setting the stage.
Did you agree with their review?
It was... It's a tangent, but in
Okay,
general,
sorry.
he didn't review it so much as recap it, and it was just like, I don't need a recap, I read the book, I need a review. Like, that's what I'm listening to your podcast for, is your take on it, not page by page, here's what happens. But he mentions that he did make the trip out to 2 local stores, and he sets up kind of what Free Comic Book Day is for his listeners, who might not be as familiar with it because they're listening to a podcast about robot toys, not about comic books. But he mentions that when he went to each store to get the books that he's looking for, across the 2 stores he was able to get what he was looking for, but he didn't buy anything at either store. At the second store he went to, they weren't doing any deals, and he didn't really feel like paying full price for stuff, even though they had stuff that he wanted. And at the first store, they were doing deals, but they didn't have anything that he wanted to buy. So he didn't buy anything at either store. But he was definitely of the, if I'm coming out this way and getting these free books, where's my deal? And it was so funny to hear that from a completely separate person. When I was reading this review, I'm like, man, is this a thing? Like, we've had people ask us before, prior to Free Comic Book Day, are we going to be doing any deals? And the slightly passive-aggressive answer we usually give is, the deal is we're giving out free comic books.
Yeah.
That's the deal. You show up and you're getting free comic books. I'm sure we've mentioned this in other years where we've talked about Free Comic Book Day, but it bears repeating. The reason stores offer discounts and sales is to bring people into the store. Free Comic Book Day, in general, is the most trafficked day of every comic book store that participates in Free Comic Book Day. They are rarely going to have a day where they have more people in the store. So if you've already got people in the store, why would you be offering a discount? Why would you need to draw more people in when you have the biggest day of your year? And this is the other thing. There are folks like the guy who responded on this Yelp thing and like the podcaster I'm talking about, where they're comic fans. They have a very clear idea of what things cost. So when they're going to these sort of events, they're expecting to see, okay, well, I already get my weekly comic someplace else. I already spend my comic budget somewhere. So if I'm going to make a purchase above and beyond that, what's in it for me? That's not the average audience for Free Comic Book Day. The average audience for Free Comic Book Day are people who only go to Free Comic Book Day. They're not looking at this as, well, I know what all this stuff costs, and I've already bought a ton of comics, so what's in it for me to buy more? These are people who this might be the only purchase they make at a comic shop that year, and they don't know what anything costs. They're not looking at everything going, well, I can probably get this cheaper someplace else, or if I wait a few months, I can... No, this is their one stop at a comic shop, and since they've already gotten a ton of free stuff, they're more likely to just say, well, as long as I'm here, I'll get a few books.
Sure.
Either some people do it out of a sense of guilt. I got all this free stuff. I should spend some money here. But some people do it just because I'm here. And it's like if you take the kids to Six Flags. You're not going to take the kids to Six Flags and then be like, well, I don't want to buy anything at any of the concession stands. I don't want to do any of this other stuff. I want to ride the free rides that I'm getting, and that's all. Most people are like, look, I'm spending a day here. It's fine. Like, it'll make everybody happy. We'll do that. So getting the kids a few books, buying yourself an action figure, a t-shirt, what have you, is part of a one-day experience. It doesn't matter if you spend $100 because it's the only $100 you're going to spend at a comic shop that year.
And in your analogy, they have to pay to get into Six Flags. They got comics for free.
Yeah, for free. So, yeah, it's so weird that there are some people who are like, what's in it for me? The free comics, the artists that we flew in, the cosplayers that are taking pictures with folks all day, the photo ops, the free posters, the everything, all of that.
Also, he didn't even mention the free sketches the artists were doing all day.
If you don't want any of that stuff, we can do other days where there's sales. We do in February. Just show up at that. There's no artists, there's no cosplayers, but there's 25% off. There you go. There's your deal. There's your discount. So yeah, it's frustrating to have somebody basically say everything was great, but they didn't give me a deal -3 stars. Okay, great. And some of the other stuff, I always bristle a little bit at the like, there's no personality. So wait, there's nice employees, there's a fun atmosphere, there's a fully sketched on wall. The personality I feel like they're talking about is exactly what we try not to do, which is like the funky comic shop atmosphere.
Right.
It's
and
not
also,
dingy enough. No one's being rude to me.
You're not going to get that personality and that personal interaction on Free Comic Book Day.
No, man, we see over 1,000 people.
It's so busy.
It's so busy.
I want to bring up...
And I gotta say, like, I disagree with some of that, mostly because I feel like even on a day with 1,000 people, we are chatting with a ton of people. We've got all these employees on the floor who are hopefully talking to people, who are taking photos of folks, who are answering questions. Everyone who comes up to the register, we're super polite to, and we're, thanks for coming out today, and joking around with folks when we've got a minute, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but that's the same thing you say to everybody. You're not doing something special for this person.
Maybe I did, I don't know. He didn't buy anything, so,
true.
I mean, I didn't have the chance, unfortunately.
This line here, it reminds me of the difference between walking to Michael's, and I assume it's supposed to be Blick's.
I assume it's Blick's as well.
Walking to Michael's and Blick's. I'm sorry.
Which is which?
Who
which
are
is
we
the good
and which one is better? I mean...
Don't they do different things?
Michael, they both do art supplies.
Right, but Michael's
Blick's
is like a craft store.
Yeah.
Blick is an art supply store.
Yeah, so I don't know which one is which.
Yeah. I don't know. Which is the insult there?
Yeah, who are we in this analogy?
Yeah. And
none I could name but or independent comics, which is cool. O-R-E. I don't know what that word's supposed to be. But were?
It's a little frustrating that, again, we have Ryan Brown, who's done a bunch of Image comics, Steve Lieber, who's worked in the industry at every company you can think of and has won awards and been the artist and co-creator of a graphic novel that got turned into a film. And yet this is like, I don't know, I guess they work on indie comics. Okay, great.
But that's cool.
Okay, great. Superior Foes of Spider-Man, Hawkman, these are indie books, small indie books, small press stuff. Like, it's fine if you don't know who they are, but just to sort of shrug them off as like, well, I don't know who they are. People do, though. Like, they are professional artists who have worked in the industry. I'm sorry that you can't be bothered to find out who they are, and I'm sorry they're not your favorite artists who work on your favorite books, but just acting like, oh, they got some guys, but whatever. All right, great.
Also, I feel like we gave out more comics than most stores. Because you get 5 plus the 2 fix and curse words if you don't throw them in the trash. But I mean, that's just
only if you don't throw them in the trash. But again, it's indie books. It's nothing that anyone cares about.
No, of course not. Why would they?
Yeah, definitely the 2 things I think about are the discount thing, which I don't agree with the necessity of it. This guy, it's like a cardinal sin. Like, we've completely misunderstood what Free Comic Book Day is because we did not offer a discount. Which, as pointed out in both of our responses, Archie graphic novels were half off. But again, that's just indie stuff. That's not... I kind of wish I could know, like, what did you expect to see? What did you want to see on sale that would have changed your mind? Like, what would it have been? And then... just the idea of, like, the store doesn't have personality. The store's got tons of personality. It's just not, like, comic shop funk and, I'd say it doesn't have, like, rude proprietors, but I guess we're being incredibly rude right now. So I guess as long as we're not doing that in the store, I guess it's okay. But in general, the people that we're trying to reach with Challengers, with the way we do things, are people who would look at the kind of comic shop this guy wants and walk right out the door. Like, we're trying to reach everybody else. Not the guy who's like, I want something that feels like a safe space for me because it's got wood paneling and flickering lighting and yellow back issue boxes and, everything's slightly water damaged. Like, all that sort of stuff where it's like, man, I get that's... And we've had Yelp reviews over the years where people basically cite, like, comic store funk. They want that. It smells too good. It's too clean.
How much pride do you take every time somebody walks in and says, "Oh, it smells so good in here"?
We take pride in it,
right? Of course.
And when they mention, like, "Oh, it's clean," like, yeah, like, this is not, and it's hilarious and frustrating, and puts reviews like this in stark focus that people feel like they need to call that out because it's so unusual for a comic shop to hit that mark, to be something where it's like, "Oh, it's not messy. Oh, I don't feel unsafe in here." Like, yeah, man, like, that's the minimum. That shouldn't even be worth mentioning, but because of the way the industry is and has been for decades, you do have to say it. You do have to, like, call it out. So yeah, disappointing Yelp review. I don't know.
This person lives in Skokie.
Okay.
Never reviewed All Yeah Comics.
Probably would hate it.
But they reviewed...
I mean, it's owned by an indie guy, so who cares?
Right. They reviewed Alley Cat and Dark Tower and Graham Cracker's Naperville.
Yeah.
Several of the... Graham Cracker's Naperville was not on Free Comic Book Day. The other ones were. Because this person went to a lot of them.
Yeah, just hit a bunch of city stores on Free Comic Book Day, which is typical. I mean, a lot of people do that.
All of those stores got much better reviews than we did.
Yeah. Even the ones that got, like, better reviews but not great reviews were like, I'm definitely going to go back. Like, ours was I'm definitely not going to go back.
Alley Cat got 3 stars, and he had said that it's the most expensive he's ever seen comics anywhere.
Which, like, not to go back to this guy's review, but there's a thing he says in the end. Do you have it open, or did you close it?
No, I went away.
Okay. There's a thing he mentions in the end about, like, it was a strange phrasing. There are plenty of better places if you're looking for comics that actually won't always charge you full price and are more reasonable. Why is charging the cover price of a comic book such an unpardonable sin in this guy's book? Like, he brings it up a few times, but that specifically states it there at the end. that it's not that the books are overpriced. It's not that we're gouging people or charging too much. It's that we have the gall, the unmitigated gall, to charge full price. Like, if you're looking for a deal, that's fine. Most people do that. They do that in certain ways or certain times, and if you can find a place that's charging you less than the going rate for something, it's fine to accept that. But it's so weird to look down on a place that's just charging the regular price.
And that's pointing out that Alley Cat charges way too much. They're still a 3-star store.
Yeah, because I'm sure they don't have indie artists there. I guess that's
Probably
the main
not.
thing. That's also weird.
Graham Cracker's Naperville got 4 stars.
Sure.
Dark Tower got 5. It's the best store he's ever seen, and from now on, it's his new regular comic shop.
That's awesome. I'm glad he found a place that he's going to be happy at.
And it's just, of course, that's the store he picks
I don't know. I mean, it's
based off of his reviews.
Yeah, I can't speak to the pricing issue. I've been to Mark's store and his prices are reasonable, but they don't strike me as like cut rate. Like they're not, you
don't know what deals he was offering on Free Comic Book Day, Dal.
Well, but this is a guy who seems like year round he's looking for deals. Like it's not partly in the review for Challengers. It's that we weren't offering deals on Free Comic Book Day, but it just seems like in general, like why?
How would he know?
Why?
He's never been to
why
it
are
on a
we
different
charging?
day.
Why are we charging full price for things? Like why? What's in it for him?
I just think that Free Comic Book Day is the worst day to get a feel for how a store is.
Sure, but he's not. He's in our review. He's slightly reviewing Free Comic Book Day, but in that sense, he's not knocking off points because it was too busy. There were too many people in the store. The kids' comics weren't where they were supposed to be. There was a line. None of that is in his review. His review is specifically that he didn't like the artists. He didn't feel like the deals were good, and parking was bad. Okay. The parking thing was super weird. What are we supposed to do about that?
Yeah, but
Holy crap, man.
even though I had said
Bucktown's bad and getting worse. There's nothing. I don't have the money to build a parking lot. I don't.
Even though I had said in my review that we didn't send, like, hey, over 1,000 people showed up. A lot of those people drove. You're fighting for them for parking as well. But there was parking right outside Dark Tower, so Dark Tower had really good parking for him.
Which they didn't save him a spot,
right?
This is
also they're on the same street we are.
Yeah. Does this guy know how city parking works? Especially
no, he's from the suburbs.
On a Saturday, like, man, you were real lucky. Like you said, you got to park within a few blocks of the store
One
on
block,
a Saturday
within a block,
where 1,000 people showed up. That's awesome. Like I remember when Rick and Morty van was happening, and people were calling up and we're like, "Do not bother trying to park near the store. It will not happen." Like it's bad enough that this is like a weeknight where people are getting home and parking on the street and parking in front of their houses and all that sort of stuff.
And coming in angry.
Park anywhere else and take the train in. Any train, it doesn't matter. Like, so yeah, I mean, Free Comic Book Day, kind of the same thing. Like, if you can take the bus or the train or a lift in, do that. Don't try and park. Like, but yeah, guy parked a block away. I've had to park farther away on days that I drove into the store.
One last thing about this, but I totally forgot now.
Sorry.
Yeah, we did go on more than I thought we were going to.
Yeah.
About it, but
a lot to unpack. Again, the guy wrote a bunch of stuff. Sometimes these things are like a paragraph, and it's like, all right, this person's talking about one specific incident. We can refer to that. But this is like, man, like you're digging into like the theory behind Free Comic Book Day, and that's.
Well, I mean, he definitely has a clear idea in his head of what Free Comic Book Day is supposed to be for him.
Sure. And like I don't want to say in fairness because I think he's being unfair overall, but to be clear, there are a lot of stores that offer deals on Free Comic Book Day. We've talked about it year after year. I don't think that's necessary, and I don't think it's useful. One of the most frustrating things to us during our once-a-year store-wide sale is days where we give people a discount, and they're like, oh, I didn't even know there was a sale. So it's like, great, why did we give you that discount then?
Yep.
You got 25% off of something when you would have paid full price. You were planning on paying full price. We gave you 25% off. You didn't go grab something else. You're just like, great, I saved money. A lot of people would do that on Free Comic Book Day because they don't know how much any of this stuff costs. It's not like they get to the register and they're like, all right, I put together $60 worth of stuff. They just put a stack of stuff on the counter and then we go, it's $60, and they pay it. They wanted the stack of stuff. The price was, as long as it's not $1,000, it's sort of irrelevant. So giving them a discount, again, when they're already in the store, and they're not necessarily going to buy more stuff. They're probably going to get the same stuff, and they're just going to save money doing it.
Yeah. We actually had our best sales day ever this year on Free Comic Book Day, and neither of us thought that was the case.
Yeah, we misremembered the Rick and Morty Day total.
But I went back and looked it up, and this year's Free Comic Book Day beat Rick and Morty by not quite $24. In my head, Rick and Morty Day was a lot bigger of a sales day. It was a huge sales day, and up till this week, it was our biggest sales day ever.
Sure.
But in my head, it was like, this is insurmountable. We're never going to break it. And I had adjusted it by a couple $1,000s in my head. So yeah, we actually beat that record. It was our biggest day, and if we had had sales, it would not have been. We wouldn't have made nearly as much money.
Yeah, and it bears repeating, all the stuff that we do for Free Comic Book Day, the free comics, the artists, the cosplayers, all that stuff costs us money.
All of it costs money.
So there's a huge build into what we spend on Free Comic Book Day, and basically, like, making less per thing we sell is a great way for Free Comic Book Day to not make us any money. And why would we do that? Like, that's why we do Free Comic Book Day, is to hopefully make some money, because that money helps pay bills and renovate the store and do all the things that we need to do.
Just pay bills.
I didn't want to just say that, though. I didn't want to make that part of the podcast is like, we need to pay bills. Like, there's other things I wanted to sort of...
Sure. Well, let's move on.
Pad that idea a little bit.
Let's move away from this. We were talking about, Marvel had announced the X-Men Gold Annual 2, which is a romance, like Kitty Pryde's first real romance that we never knew about. And it was an author named Seanan McGuire who was going to be writing it. And I said I didn't know who this person was. So, cut to the Twitter feed of Joe Field from...
Speaking of Free Comic Book Day.
Flying Colors Comics and other cool stuff out in Concord, California, which is a little bit northeast of San Francisco, I want to say. Up in that region. As Dal pointed out just now, he is the founder and the father of Free Comic Book Day. But this is a 9-part Twitter thread that he had, but it's brief, so I'm just going to read it. Last night I was told by my wife Libby to stay off social media until at least 11 a.m. this morning. This was on May 22nd. She told me, there's going to be a surprise for you. When I arrived at Flying Colors today, a little after opening, I was greeted first with a camera in my face. I was then surprised to see one of our longtime Flyco faithful, best-selling author, Seanan McGuire, run up and give me a hug. Her mom was with her, and she gave me a hug, and then I was greeted by a group of Seanan's friends and a couple of former Flyco staff. Thing is, Seanan and her mom moved to Washington State a year ago, so this visit was a total surprise. Almost 30 years after first finding Flying Colors as a 10-year-old girl who had been given the cold shoulder at other comic shops, Seanan McGuire found her comics home, her safe place where she could be herself, talk comics, learn about other comics, and know she was valued. Today, Marvel announced Seanan's first X comic will be published X-Men Gold Annual 2. Before the announcement was released online, Seanan and her mom flew from Washington State back home to California to tell me first. Made me a little misty-eyed, that's for sure. It was a really sweet thing for Seanan to do. Growing up, her world revolved around the X-Men. Flying Colors provided her with a portal into that world, accompanied by a welcoming smile and the respect of our staff here, no matter her precocious ages and stages. What comics retailers can have a profound impact on the lives of those we serve every day. What comics retailers can have a profound impact on the lives of those we serve every day? Sure, we sell product. Yes, we're trying to make a living, but a part of that is also making a life. Not just for us, but for all those we meet along the way, along the cool comics highway. I'm distracting myself, sorry. Fans and fellow retailers, look at the smile on Seanan McGuire's face and confidently order strong on X-Men Gold Annual 2 due in August. Nothing better than an accomplished, award-winning author and longtime X-Men fan finally writing the characters she has known and loved for years. There's a photo of Joe Field with her at Flying Colors. A big thank you to Seanan McGuire and your mom for making the trip here to give me the wonderful news. I'm so proud of you, and I know this X-Men story of yours will be the first in an entertaining library of stories you deliver you'll deliver featuring our fave mutants. So proud.
Club only. No, I'm kidding. That's rude.
I thought that was such a great story.
It is. It's great.
Especially since we were just like, hey, who is this person? But to hear from...
But, I mean, we said that about all the Marvel annuals.
Yeah, that's true.
Basically. It's like,
to hear from
these people.
The people that shaped her as a comic retailer, and, we want everybody who shops with us to have that experience that she had growing up at Flying Colors.
Sure.
And granted, we haven't been, we can't do... Well, can you do 10 years later? Sure. That's right.
Sure.
Whatever it was. How many years later? I forget.
Although that said, I mean, look how Kent turned out. Yeesh.
Well, he's not ready for Marvel. He's not ready for Marvel. No, that was really touching, and I liked it. I thought it was great.
It is great.
The fact that they flew in just to tell Joe Field before anybody else.
Yeah.
It was neat.
That's very nice.
I liked it. I had a list of other new comics I want to talk about, but first, we have a couple of new events that we are doing. One is reoccurring, and one is that came to us as it's kind of a fun workshop-y kind of thing. So I'm going to turn the Kids Comics Workshop over to you.
Okay. We're going to be working with Gabby Mendez, who's the creator behind the hit Kickstarter graphic novel Lemonade Summer, and Sheikha Lugtu from Cowhouse Press that is publishing Lemonade Summer. The two of them are going to be coming by on Sunday, June 10th for a Kids Comics reading and workshop. It's going to be from 2 to 4 in the afternoon. It is an all-ages event, so kids and adults can come by. Gabby and Sheikha are going to do a little bit of a reading from Lemonade Summer. They're going to be doing a little one-page comics workshop with kids. And Sheikha will be selling some Lemonade Summer swag, as well as prints, as well as taking pre-orders for the print edition of Lemonade Summer that is due out imminently, basically.
But after that event.
I believe so. Sheikha specifically used the word pre-order in an email, so I'm assuming that it will not 100% be ready, even though the Kickstarter says delivery in June 2018, so I don't know. Yeah, that should be a really fun event, and definitely worth attending for kids and adults. Families especially, if you're a group of adults and kids, you're the perfect audience for this. There'll be a fun afternoon, a 2 to 4 event, like I said, and because of Lemonade Summer, we'll be providing cups of lemonade to enjoy during what will probably be a very warm day in Sidekicks.
Nice. And then the very next day, they will both be appearing at that month's Women's Comics Night, which is pajama party themed.
Yeah.
But they'll also be doing a thing there.
Yeah, basically Gabby's going to be in town for Cake the previous weekend, and so she's going to be in Chicago through the following weekend, and they're doing a full court press to make sure everyone in Chicago knows about Lemonade Summer and gets excited about it. So we've got the Kids Comics Workshop and Reading on Sunday, and then Monday night, Gabby will be talking to the folks at Women's Comics Night, and I believe giving them some review PDFs so they can take a look at some of the contents of Lemonade Summer.
And then the other thing we have, which is new and reoccurring, in theory, on the third Thursday of the month.
Yeah, third Thursday of each month, with I believe for the first month is June 21st.
June 21st at 7 p.m., hosted by our very own Donovan Challenger. It's a correspondence club. And when we were talking with all of our employees at the beginning of the year about events that they would be interested in hosting or running, and Donovan suggested this, both you and I independently said, that's a really neat idea. I like this a lot. Donovan is part of the Letter Writers Association, or group or club, I forget its affiliation, but Donovan has like 135 pen pals all around the world, and she writes letters. She handwrites letters to people all the time.
She makes envelopes.
So she had a paper company called 16 Sparrows.
Yeah.
And this is a big deal to her, so she came up with the idea of a letter writing club to comic books from comic fans.
Yeah, so once a month on the third Thursday of each month from 7 to, we'll see, folks can come in. We're going to have custom stationery with the Correspondence Club logo on it. And Donovan is bringing in a typewriter. She's bringing in a bunch of different pens and pencils. So people can handwrite or type out a letter to a comic creator, a comic book. The theme for the first month maybe is saga, but you can write to whomever you want.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a jumping off point. Like,
Yeah.
if everybody wants to write to Saga, Saga's a great choice because they don't accept email.
It's you have to send them a letter, and partly it's also having a theme is nice because that way a bunch of fans are sending a book a letter instead of like a creator maybe getting one letter. A creator could be getting 7 or 8 letters from people saying, "Yeah, I love your stuff." Like that's pretty cool. Like the volume of it could be kind of neat for a creator or a book.
Yeah, and I imagine they'll talk about what the next month's book will be and that kind of thing.
Yeah, some of this depends on who shows up and what the crowd is like, and much like with Women's Comics Night, it's shaped a little bit by the people who attend. What do they want to see out of it? What are they hoping to get out of the experience?
One of the things I remember talking to Donovan for the club about was that there was going to be a cover charge, but I don't see any of that.
That was, I think, for the crafts night. She'd also suggested a craft thing.
Okay.
And I think that for that, there was going to be a lot more supplied by her, and that was going to need a certain amount of.
Okay.
Because similarly, I didn't see anything about anything, so I'm just like, all right, if she's cool doing it,
Did she give you the write up?
She did, yeah.
Okay. Because I didn't get that email.
Okay.
That was
yeah.
between the two of you.
Yeah, she shot me the write up, and so I just posted it.
I think the Correspondence Club is a great idea.
I think it's neat.
I have high hopes for it, and I like the idea of a creator or an editor or whomever of a set book just like suddenly getting, 5, 6, 10, 20, whatever letters.
Yeah, I think
all
it's
at
pretty
once.
cool.
Yeah, it's really neat. I think it's a good idea, and I don't know of anybody else who does something similar to that. And,
I have no idea.
And Donovan hosts things like this often, so the fact that it has a comic book component is not a big deal to her at all because she's a huge comic fan
Sure.
and has been with us for many years. She does not have to prove her credibility at all.
Nope.
So that's on top of the regular things we have going on regularly, which you can always find at challengers.events. It's one of my favorite domain URLs. The extensions? What's that called? The dot whatever.
Address?
That's not what I'm thinking of.
Okay.
But just the fact that we used to have challengers.horse just because we could.
Sure.
But challengers.events is perfect because it takes you to our events.
Mm-hmm.
You never have to forget. What are challengers events? Challengers.events.
There you go.
That's all you got to type in, and you're there. It's great. So I wanted to talk about some books that have come out recently that may be under the radar or beneath people's notice, or just things that I've read and enjoyed, and haven't really had the chance to talk up to too many people in the store. Unfortunately, I don't have that list in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
But one of them was Skyward.
Okay.
Skyward has had 2 issues so far.
Yes.
I believe it's only a 5-issue mini.
The first arc is 5.
Okay.
So I definitely
'Cause
feel like they'll do more. But
They build such a great world that going through in just 5 issues is almost not enough. So I'm glad they do it. But it's basically a world where there's no gravity anymore.
yeah, gravity not gone entirely, but very, very low gravity. So things float a lot easier, and people need to be tethered to buildings or they'll float away.
Yeah, and it's I don't remember 15, 18 years after the loss of gravity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the world that's there now, and it's really fun. It's a somebody described it as a light sci-fi story,
Sure.
which is it's definitely the case. I like the art, I like the writing. It's fast paced, it's fun, and issue 2 started going a whole different direction, which I like. I mean, there's not twists and turns and things like that, but there's some unexpected developments which I really enjoyed.
Sure.
So I liked it a lot. I recommend that to anyone, and it is in the first issue section of our
believe it
display
currently still
area
is, yeah.
by the front counter. The Superman book we've been waiting for forever, Man of Steel, comes out next week, or I guess this week,
May 30th.
as you were listening to this. While we've had 2 examples of Brian Michael Bendis Superman stories thus far with Action 1000 and then DC Nation Zero, I wasn't as impressed with those as I was with Man of Steel #1.
Cool.
I liked it a lot. Obviously, it's Ivan Reyes' art, so I like the art. I know your mileage with him varies.
I like Ivan Reyes.
I think that it's people have expectations of what they want out of this book, and I just want to be entertained, and I want there to be, a solid Superman story.
Okay.
And I like it. I don't assume you read it yet.
No. I have been burned with DC PDFs, especially anything that's got a double-page spread. They format it as one page, so it's just squished in, and I'm like, I don't want to read it this way. There's very little chance of me enjoying it in the same way that I would just reading it fresh out of the box. We've ordered so many copies of Man of Steel #1 that even if I loved it, it's not like I'd go, oh my god, I gotta get a bunch more. Like, no, I don't have to get any more. We're good, thanks.
Yeah, we're good. We have been a little bit aggressive in ordering of big books, and especially the weekly ones, we're not getting the weekly turnover.
The weekly ones, I think, we're having a worse time with than other ones. Like, Avengers #1 was a book we ordered a ton of, and we're almost sold out.
Yeah. Avengers #2, though, we have a ton of.
Yeah, we'll see on that one. I definitely think that's... It'll go, but we might not 100% go. It's specifically Barrier and Justice League No Justice where it's like, miscalculated. Barrier's not a big deal because I believe we hit the returnability threshold, so we will, even if we have to pay a slight penalty to return those, we're not going to get stuck with it.
Yeah. It's
just when we get that money back and how long we have to sit on them.
And while we don't do sets, I'll make a bunch of sets of that.
Yeah,
just
for
sure. It's a one, done in 5 thing.
Yeah.
It's just that Brian K. Vaughan fans, or Saga readers, or Paper Girl readers, they're not conditioned to come in weekly.
No, I'm very excited for this week because not only is it the final issue of Barrier, which means we'll have all 5 on the shelf, it's Saga 52, so anybody who comes in for Saga, you can point to the first shelf and go, I don't know if you're reading this, but he's got a new book, Barrier. All 5 issues are out. This is the whole series. They're not doing a collection, which is the thing I had to tell so many people who expressed interest because their knee-jerk is, I'll just get the trade. And you have to go, there's not going to be a trade. And they do this kind of like double take. Like you've told them that Santa Claus was real, but you murdered him. And you go, because of course there's going to be, it's Brian K. Vaughan, that's the book. And you go, no, here, let me read you the quote that says that they're not doing a book. And then people buy the first issue and the second issue or whatever was out. So yeah, I think there will be a few people who will come in for Saga that you will be able to say this and tell them all that, and then they will buy all 5.
Yeah.
So
I don't even mind when people say, I'll start and try with the first one. Yeah, that's fine. We have plenty.
Yeah.
For now.
Although that said, 2 is probably going to be the first one to run out.
You think so?
Yeah. I know, because there's people who bought 2 that did not buy 1. They just got the Free Comic Day 1. So they didn't need a 1.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So that'll be the first one.
Even though it's a different format.
Doesn't matter.
And to everybody that said it doesn't fit in a box, it fits in boxes. I've checked.
Yeah.
I put it in boxes.
Yeah, it's fine. The other weekly book, Justice League No Justice, underperforming a little bit, but we'll see on that one. We don't have nearly as many copies of that as we do of Barrier, but I put a lot of copies of 2 on the shelf. I just thought, did not expect this many to be left over. We sold a ton of issue 2, don't get me wrong. Like, we're still on track to sell more than double what we did for a regular issue of Justice League, so that's great.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we definitely thought this thing would be selling closer to metal numbers, and it's really not. We're only 3 weeks in.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it all wraps up, and once Justice League 1 comes out, if people, like Barrier, just buy all 4 of them at once. I don't know if that's really going to happen. I think the audience for that is not like the Saga audience that only comes in once a month for the book they read. This is people who are coming in every week, and they've decided yes or no on Justice League No Justice.
And DC has already solicited the No Justice collection.
Sure. So yeah, No Justice, we may take it on the chin a bit with that one.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We can make sets of that, too.
We could. I don't mind giving a book like that 4 spots. You know, here's all 4 of them.
Man, the number of emails that have popped up during this recording session is driving me insane.
Sure. I guess one thing that I don't know if we're liable for that we would need to investigate is this is those new...
Ooh, I was going to bring that up, too.
European Union email rules
that's getting
going
a
into
lot
effect.
of press today.
Gotten 2 emails about that as I've been sitting here. Yeah.
Emails from publishers or
just anyone who I was on a mailing list for is basically sending me a thing going, "Hey, new European Union rules."
So, forgive me, I don't. It's
GDPR.
GDPR, and basically it is a level of security for customer information that you would keep in a database, or it's saying that like if you're allowed to have information from a customer of yours, name, address, phone number, email address. But you have to go through a specific security protocol to be able to ensure its safety.
Yeah, like I just got a thing from Patreon, and I'll read it. We're writing to let you know that we're updating our privacy policy in preparation for the European Union's General Data Protection Regulations, which will go into effect on May 25th, 2018. As we're recording this, that is tomorrow.
Yeah.
While the GDPR is a European law, we are taking this opportunity to clarify and apply our privacy policy to everyone, no matter where you're located. Here's a quick summary of our changes. We're being more specific on how we use the information we collect and how long we keep the data. We're being more specific about your data preferences and your data rights. These changes will not affect the way you use Patreon. You do not need to take any action. If you continue using Patreon on or after May 25th, 2018, you are agreeing to these terms. And some places, like mailing lists and stuff, have sent me a thing where it's like, you gotta opt back in. And other places are doing things like this, where it's like, look, these are the new rules. If you need to find out more information, fine, but if you keep using our service, you're okay with that. Like, if you want to opt out of our service, now is when you're going to need to do that.
So is there any way it affects us as a United States retailer?
I have no idea. It technically could be if we're sending emails to people in Europe.
Which I don't know that we are.
I don't know if we are, but yeah, that's maybe something where you should get on SendGrid or whoever. Who do you use? MailChimp. At some point and find out whether or not that's true. The emails that I send out for subscribers and stuff, I don't believe anyone's in Europe because...
we do have some European customers, though.
We do, but everyone's located in the U.S., I think. So I have no idea if we're in compliance with that or not. But the bulk mailing list, you may want to check with MailChimp and see if there's anything we need to send out or specify or if whatever.
Sure.
I don't know.
It's just weird how this is a thing none of us had ever heard of, or I hadn't heard of. I can't speak for you.
I hadn't
Until
really
today.
investigated it. I'd known it was happening, but I hadn't really thought about it applying to our business until I started to get it from people, again, just mailing lists, where it's like, hey, you're on our mailing list, and we got to comply with the GDPR. And I started to realize, wait, we have a mailing list that we send out emails. Mm-hmm. Huh. That said, if the European Union wants to sue us, there's nothing to take, so fine.
So speaking of protection and data and things like that, I was identity thieved again this week.
Once again.
For the third time in like 13 months.
Patrick's identity is too appealing.
Too juicy. People want a piece of it.
So many folks want his identity.
The store card that I use. And PNC is our banker for this. And PNC caught it before I knew it was a thing. Ironically, I had just been online doing some banking, and then like 10 minutes later I got an email, hey, there's these charges, which definitely were not mine. And so I'm talking to the
Someday
fraud.
someone is going to fraudulently charge at places we go to regularly, and it's going to be like, I don't know, maybe I did.
Did I do that? What? Well,
did I go to McDonald's that day?
Weirdly,
I don't know.
when somebody gets a card number, every time one of the first places they hit is Walmart.com.
Sure.
They buy things from Walmart.com. But anyway, I was talking to the fraud specialist and said, what is it about my card usage that is making this happen?
What is it about my sexy, sexy identity?
You have cards connected to the same account, and you never get them thieved.
It's true.
So we went over my charges, and what she had suggested, what it's most likely from gas station pumps where you pay at the pump. Mm-hmm. It's so easy for fraudulent people to slip in a little device that either copies the card, reads the card, saves the card, or they have something in the proximity that can get the information and what have you. And you don't buy gas.
I don't. The one time I was identity thieved, it was after I bought some gas. And that was years ago.
Specifically, like, I usually buy gas in the suburbs because it's so much cheaper, and I'm out in the suburbs at least once a
And that's where all the crooks are, obviously.
Well, you know what?
Suburbs.
I disagree. I think that it was the Shell on the corner by us.
The one that's getting torn down?
No, that's mobile.
Okay.
The Shell is where I got where I took the motorcycle to get some gas, and this happened like a few days after that. Mm-hmm. So I kind of think it might have been that station, especially because I was on a pump facing the street, which would be more easier for somebody to alter that and not be seen by the person in the booth.
Sure. Makes sense.
And I didn't go back and double check, but
I seem to know a lot about this for a so-called innocent man.
But I rarely get gas in the city. Mm-hmm. I bet I could trace back each identity thieving time, theft time to a point when I got gas in the city. So anyway, the moral of the story is pay inside.
Yeah, don't pay at the pump.
Don't pay at the pump. Or if you do pay at the pump, some good suggestions from friends and even Chris Powell from Diamond. Gas card.
Sure.
Get a gas card if you want, or
a lot of people who are
pay off an app.
Nervous about paying for stuff on the internet for getting identity thieved will just use
gift cards,
like reloadable gift cards.
Yeah.
So they can just like go to Walgreens, put $100 on it in cash, and then if someone ever steals that card, it's only $100 on it. Not really losing a whole lot.
I mean, the gas station I go to the most is Thornton's, but they don't have they don't have an app. They have an app, and on an app you can pay from.
Okay.
But also, I don't know how this technology works, despite what Dow just said about me. I don't know if you pay off of your phone, if that's a thing that they can also steal or not. I don't know how it works. But obviously, it's considerably harder to compromise a device that is inside and at the terminal personally. And I will miss the convenience of paying at the pump, because that's a joy of just, well, not a joy, but not a hassle of
a little bit of joy
having to go, like, just pulling up, paying, and leaving.
And now, once you're inside the gas station, you're a target for all of their snacks and drinks and treats.
The worst part is it's just the line. There's always a line inside. And some gas stations that you stop at, because I'm not brand loyal, I am whatever's convenient.
Okay.
Some of them you have to pay before you fill up.
Sometimes.
And I always just fill up till it stops, so I don't care if it's like $28.14, whatever it is.
Sure.
But now if it's like, I don't know, $20, I guess. So, I don't know. I'm not looking forward to having to do that. But I'm also not looking forward to having to go to 25 or 26 different places that I use that card with. Things like iTunes or SiteGround that hosts our website.
Sure.
Or, as I found out last night, my Ventra card. Or
oh yeah.
Or things that I didn't even think about until later, like the Lyft app.
Sure.
You know, like
sure.
I have a spreadsheet with everything on it, but this experience has reminded me, there's so much more. And there's like, I took care of a lot of them already, but the insurance agents, I have to call both of my insurance agents and be
sure.
like, hey, the auto pay that we do, I need to change that.
Yeah, I honestly think about your various identity thievings every time someone that I pay a bill to sends me an email about like, hey, you can do auto pay. It's like, no, because inevitably there's going to be that thing where like the card gets replaced or stolen or whatever, and then I got to deal with that hassle. This way, I just pay you when I pay you. It's fine. I'm okay doing that.
The funny part is several of these things like CubeSmart or SiteGround, when I go to change it to the new card, it was your card. Because Dal and I have different cards with the same account. So
right.
The account's not compromised. My card is. Right. So we'd started, mainly because this time they got me a new card in 2 days.
Yeah.
But last time it took like 8 days.
Right.
And that's 8 days without me being able to use a card. So
I
we were just relying on yours.
Yeah, I just gave you the store card in my name and said, just use this.
So I was filling in some of the things there so I wouldn't have to worry about it. But now I switched them back to me.
Sure.
So I'll have to switch them back when I get stolen next time.
Okay, good.
Which, I mean, hopefully this going inside and not paying at the pump will fix that. But if it doesn't, then I have no clue.
Getting identity thieved is, I don't know, man. It's like having your car not start. It's going to happen to everybody sooner or later.
Yeah, honestly, that's why when I remember the first time I got a call 20 some odd years ago.
Sure.
Did you try to buy this much in furs at a fur store in Aurora? No. What?
The first time I got identity thieved, I was working out in Aurora, Naperville, Aurora, and it was at night, and I just left like Best Buy or something. I was in my car, and my phone rang, and I answered. This was
when you answer your phone when you didn't recognize the number.
God, 10 years ago, maybe more, 10 or 11 years ago, probably, and it was the woman from one of my credit cards and the fraud prevention department. And yeah, did you spend X amount of money at PacSun? I'm sorry, where? At PacSun? I don't know what that is. Oh, it's like a Californian clothing store. No, I didn't. Okay. And it was someone immediately got my credit card and just went and bought a bunch of clothes. Like, all right, cool. That wasn't me. And then I got my new card in just a few days. But it was, only twice. And the second time, after I had pumped gas in the city, I'd gotten a PayPal notification that someone had used a PayPal card in, like, Southern California to, like, pay off a Mexican phone bill. Like, it was really weird.
The first time it happened to me, it was such a traumatic, like, oh my god, what is this? It's such a big deal. I don't know what to do.
My identity.
Yeah, now it's just, okay, do what you gotta do. Thanks. I mean, that's why I have a spreadsheet, because it happens so often. Yeah. I want to make sure I don't forget anything, like Lyft.
Yeah.
Like VentureCard.
Because you get these emails, and it's like, oh, right, that person had that card, and they tried to charge it, and now they can't.
Now, did you file a police report? No. Okay, you don't have to. Yeah, I'm not gonna.
Yeah. What's the CPD going to do?
The one annoying thing was, so I was talking to the fraud prevention person. She's like, all right, here's all the ones we stopped. These 2 got through. They're still pending. Hopefully they drop off, but we've already marked them as fraudulent. So they didn't drop off. They got charged. So I call back and say, hey, I need to take these off. Then I have to go through the whole thing with a customer service rep, not because I'm not in the fraud department anymore. Now it's something different. And I'm like, look, the person I talked to on Monday just said that these are already marked. And I'm like, well, we have to complete a full investigation. They're going to send me some paperwork I have to fill out. And it's like, did you make these charges? No. Did you make this? Yes, I paid Southern Hobby. Yes. That is the thing I did.
I mean, no.
It's like just this one for $170, this one for $117. But all right, well, you need to fill this out, and then if anything goes wrong and it has to go back on, you can recontest it. Like, it's just so much easier just to say, no, drop those. But it's not this life-changing trauma anymore. It's just the cost of doing business. Yeah. It just sucks that it's a card that is for the store,
If
mainly.
you want to have credit cards in 2018, this is just how the world works.
Yep.
Someone's going to steal them. It's the same way that if you want to buy anything online, sooner or later, your email and password and personal information is going to get out there.
Yep. So if you live in Great Britain and you deal with us, we'll figure out what to do for you. Sorry, we'll do it. However,
I guess we'll have to.
We'll have to do a lot of things. But what you don't have to do is listen to this. But we appreciate that you did. So thanks for listening.
And keep reading comics.
We didn't even mention Solo at all.
No, or the Yak Channel Podcast Network, of which Contest of Challengers is a part of. And that part is as a comics industry business podcast.
I guess next time.
All right, sorry.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.